She quit in the middle of washing a bottle. Just set the sponge down, still dripping, and said, "I can't do this anymore," like it was about the nipple size on a sippy cup. I shrugged, said okay, and watched her walk out the door. A year later, I found out it wasn't the bottles or my kids. It was my husband. I'm telling you this from my kitchen table, where the wood is scarred from homework scratches and a Sharpie accident I still pretend is art. The dishwasher's humming, the house smells like lemon cleaner because I scrub when I can't fix things, and if my voice shakes, it's fine. I'm allowed to be a little shaky. Back up with me. I wasn't always this suspicious person who memorizes the vibration pattern of her husband's notifications. I was the girl who met him at a 4th of July cookout and laughed too loud when he dropped a burger on his shoe. We were 23 and earnest, all sunscreen and big plans. We spent summers working through our IKEA catalog like a treasure map. Couch, table, lamp. We talked about kids while we brushed our teeth. We said always like we knew what it meant. By the time our second baby was born, I was tasting the edges of exhaustion. That kind of tired that makes you forget what you walked into the room for, that makes you cry because the avocado isn't ripe. He worked in a small tech company, late nights more often than I liked, but we were doing that thing, dividing and conquering. My mom's 3 states away, his parents' winter in Florida, and we needed help that wasn't a friend doing me a favor for Starbucks gift cards. That's how we found Lena. Lena was 21, an art major at the community college. She had ink-stained hands and always had paint on her forearms as forearm bracelets. She came to the interview with an armful of kids' books in a tote bag and sat down on the floor cross-legged to converse with my toddler as the mayor. "I like your dinosaur pajamas," she said. He gazed at her for a long moment and said, "They're T-Rex, actually." She nodded, serious. "My mistake. T-Rex." I liked her. I liked that she cracked the oldest one up in that unself-conscious way where they roll backward. I liked that she wiped up without saying she wiped up. I liked that she sent me pictures, finger-painting masterpieces, kids down for the nap like little sprawled starfish, my daughter with the spoon raised high as though she invented breakfast. For the first time in months, I went to the grocery store without calculating down to the minute when I needed to be home. If you've been in that season, you know it felt like clean air. She came on Tuesdays and Thursdays, occasionally a Saturday afternoon, so we'd all act like we remembered how to eat in restaurants. On Saturdays, he'd kid, "I'll give Lena home," like it was the thing. He'd say it in that sweet performative voice that made me feel esteem. He always had cash on him. I'd say, "I can Venmo her," and he'd go, No, I've got it." The little things weren't little things at first. I'm saying that so you understand how I missed it. I dismissed it. One afternoon, I came home earlier than I said. There was the front light on. Through the window, I saw my husband leaning across the island, laughing with all of himself the way he does, as if his hands are punctuation. They both laughed. It was nothing. I opened the front door, boomed, "Hello," stepped on a lone Lego. They turned to us. He said, with too quick motion, as if it was something he practiced, "Hey, you're home early," all the word bursting through the moisture on the windows. Lena's smile wavered for one flicker, then bounced back, larger. Another afternoon, I grabbed his sweatshirt off the chair the AC was making the house feel like a meat locker, as it had the scent on it of coconut shampoo I didn't use. Lena used coconut shampoo. She had left it here once in our shower caddy. I assured myself it was because she hugged the kids goodnight. I assured myself I was behaving foolishly. My son said, "Daddy and Lena tickled me in the hallway," and I said, with an appropriate force, "Aw, fun," and stored it away in the place where you put things you have no idea what to with. He asked me afterwards could he show Daddy's friend Lena his fort upstairs, the secret one, and I said no for the reason of bedtime, and my husband said, "Let them, it's fine," and I said, with an edge becoming on me, "It's late." And Lena looked at the ground, but said nothing. I still didn't see it. Or saw it and put on sunglasses due to the glare. Lena quit in September. A Tuesday. She showed up, made ramen for lunch, cut grapes in half. She always did, even when I forgot, and then called me into the kitchen. "I can't do this anymore," she said, and I thought she meant the schedule or my daughter's new habit of screaming at volume 10 when asked to put on socks. I said, "Hey, that's okay. Classes are hard. We can change days, whatever you need." She shook her head. Her eyes were wet, but not crying yet. "It's not a good fit." That phrase. She said she was sorry. She hugged the kids like you hug someone you're trying not to cling to. She left her tote bag by mistake and had to come back in, cheeks red, eyes on the floor. He wasn't home. He texted, "Wow, flaky," when I told him. I said, "College," and he said, "Guess we'll find someone else." We never did. We limped through the year on favors and screen time and a chore chart I made with stickers I found at the bottom of the junk drawer. Then came the year of almost normal. We made it. Birthdays, Halloween, fumes of peppermint in the house and glitter I will vacuum until I die. We fought about money and whose turn it was to handle the dentist, and we made up over takeout in front of Netflix with the captions on because we've become those people. One night, in October, the kids were with my sister because she'd finally moved back to town and the house was too quiet. I decided to finally clean out the drawer of tech junk. You know the drawer. 5 old chargers, a dead Fitbit, a flip phone we keep like a fossil. I found my husband's old iPad, the one he said didn't hold a charge anymore. It powers on. That tiny Apple screen. I thought I'd wipe it for the kids to use. I'm doing my little checklist, settings, iCloud sign out, no drama, and a message pops up before I've even found the right screen. Blue bubble. A hummingbird in my chest. Can you call me when she's asleep? It's from a number with no name. The contact photo is a gray circle. I hit the home button like that would make it less real. More messages flowed in, not new ones, just delayed ghosts. Different timestamps. A year ago. 2 years ago. Blue bubbles like stepping stones across a river I suddenly can't see the bottom of. Left the back door unlocked. Don't talk to me in the kitchen. She'll know. Thursday, okay? A photo of the kids sleeping, both of them impossibly small. My daughter's curls are fans on the pillow. My son has his superhero blanket pulled to his chin. The message above it, they're out. Then a heart emoji I've never seen my husband use with me. Not the red one. The one that looks like it's out of breath. I clicked the I in the top corner. The number had been changed to a name and then back to unknown. But the messages, the tone, were unmistakable. You smell like the ocean, one said, and that's nothing. The words were tame. It was the timing. The logistics. Tuesday nights. Saturday afternoons. The exact hours Lena was in my house. I scrolled to the very first message. "Hi, it's Lena." From the other night. My hand shook and I put the iPad down like it had burned me. I walked to the sink and turned on the water, because that's what you do when you're trying not to make sounds. The sink filled, the water allowed, dumb thing. I watched it climb and climb until it almost overflowed, then I shut it off, and the silence that followed felt like it swallowed me whole. I wish I could say I marched into the living room with the iPad held up like evidence in a courtroom, but what I did was sit on the floor, back against the cabinet, knees to my chest, and stare at my toes. I watched the smallest bit of water from the sink find its way onto the floor, inch toward me like a tiny animal. I had this ridiculous thought, who's going to wipe that up, as if that mattered. As if the towel wasn't right there. When he came home, I had already put the iPad on the table and made tea because I needed to hold something hot. He walked in whistling this stupid jingle from an insurance commercial. He stopped whistling when he saw my face. "What's wrong?" he said, keys still in his hand, the sound of metal against his wedding ring a sharp clink. I slid the iPad toward him with 2 fingers. "Explain this." He picked it up. His eyes skimmed. He did this thing he does when he's thinking hard, presses his tongue against the inside of his cheek until it shows. He looked at me. "Where did you?" he started, and I said, "No. Don't ask me about the where. Explain the what." He sat. He put his palms flat on the table like he could study the world. "It wasn't, I didn't mean," he said, "and it's funny the sound your own heartbeat makes in your ears when someone is lying to you. It's like a metronome for every bad decision." "How long?" I asked. He looked at the ceiling like maybe the answer was written in the light fixture. "A while," he said. I didn't blink. "Months?" He nodded. "A year?" He nodded again. My mouth tasted like pennies. "The whole time she was with our kids?" Silence. He pressed his thumb into the table so hard I thought he'd leave a mark. "Once," he said, then immediately, a few times. Then it got complicated. I laughed, this horrible bark that didn't sound like me. "Complicated," I repeated. "Like a TV plotline. Like a math problem." He said he was lonely. He said I had the kids and work and the house and there wasn't room for him. I stared at him and said, "You weren't a plant I forgot to water." He cried, and I was angry at his tears for being easy. "You do not get to hand me your loneliness like it's a coat I'm supposed to hold," I said. I said words I didn't plan, from a part of me that's meaner than I realized I had. He asked if we could fix it. He asked if we could go to therapy. I said I need him to leave. The days after were like walking underwater. The kids didn't know, not the truth, just that Daddy was at Nana's for a little while, and I wore sunglasses to daycare drop-off even though it was raining. I threw out a mug because Lena had used it. I scrubbed the counter until my knuckles were pink. I turned off the sound on my phone because every ping felt like a threat. I kept thinking over and over about her hands on my sink, her hands on my kids' shoelaces, her hands there. I hate that. I hate that my brain made a map I will never unsee. He moved into his cousin's apartment. We made a schedule with the kids and put it on the fridge with those alphabet magnets. Monday through Tuesday with me, Wednesday through Thursday with him, alternating weekends. I sat in front of a therapist twice a week and told her I didn't know which parts of my life belonged to me anymore. I told her my fear wasn't just that he'd cheated, but that I had ignored the story while it was being written in my own house. She squeezed a stress ball and nodded and asked good questions, and sometimes I just cried for 45 minutes in her too-soft chair. I saw Lena once, by accident. Trader Joe's, frozen aisle. She had on a beanie and no makeup and looked like she'd slept for 3 minutes. She looked at me like I was the sun and she'd burned her eyes. She opened her mouth, like maybe there was an apology in there, and then closed it, put down her basket, and left her groceries right on top of the cauliflower gnocchi. I watched her go. I didn't chase her. I thought I might throw up. At night, I lay in the bed that still had his side like an empty continent and mapped what forgiveness meant. Not the kind where you play naive, but the kind where you acknowledge the crater and lay a park around it anyway. People like to talk about closure like it's a door you get to slam. It wasn't for me. It was a draft that never quite stopped. He kept asking me if I'd attempt it, if I'd allow him to demonstrate something. We went to 3 couples therapy sessions. He said all the right things. He put pictures of the kids in his hands as if they broke easily, as if he remembered they even existed. He didn't mention Lena. I asked him. He said he ended it. He said she quit due to not being able to see me. He said he despised himself. He kept using his sentimental buzzwords: violation of trust, repair endeavors, openness, responsibility. We sounded like we were building the bookshelf without the instructions, and whenever we put it upright, it slanted and fell. I came to slowly understand that I wasn't fearsome of aloneness. I was fearful of trusting him again. I was standing at the sink one evening cleaning up a spatula and thinking, I am still here. Not as wife or mom, but as the individual who shuts lights off and finds things funny when the dog explodes. It felt so fundamental it felt deep. I sent a text to my sister, I think I'm through. She would type for 3 seconds, I think you've been through. I phoned the next day a lawyer. We did it discreetly. No wailing in the driveway, no Facebook. Documents signed with some pen I took from the receptionist, cause mine wouldn't work. I exited and sat in the car and rested my head on the wheel and heard the engine tick as it went cold. Then I went home, took down the pictures of the wedding, and put up the pictures the kids drawing on the ground with chalk and lost in the middle of an autumn pile. I purchased an inexpensive rug, an outrageous teal, cause I wanted a new shade in the room. I learned on YouTube how to fix the hole in the drywall. The kids adjusted the way kids do, messy and honest and faster than adults. Is Daddy still my daddy? My daughter asked. Always, I said. Is he in timeout? My son asked, and I said, sort of. Lena became a ghost. If they asked about her, I said, she moved away. I did not make it their mess. When they slept, I sat at this table and wrote lists of things that were mine. My coffee mug with the chipped rim, my playlists, my Sunday runs to the river, my laugh that sometimes snorts when I don't want it to. Here's what I want to tell you. If you're still here, if you are sitting at your own kitchen table with lemon cleaner in your lungs and a heart that won't slow down, I was not an idiot. I was a person who believed the person she loved. I was a person in the thick of little kids and bills and fatigue that blurs your edges. I missed it until I couldn't. And then I made a choice I didn't want to make, and I survived it. People say, you're so strong, and I want to tell them strength is ugly most days. It's crying in the produce aisle because you reached for his favorite apples and putting them back. It's canceling the anniversary reminder on your phone. It's telling a 4-year-old that 2 homes can be safe. It's unclenching your jaw enough to sleep. A year later, now, I have a friend who comes over on Thursdays, and we eat Thai food on the floor and talk about books we pretend we'll read. My son can tie his shoes. My daughter tells jokes with no punchline and laughs at herself until we all do. The house is quieter. The dishwasher hums. The Sharpie art on the table is starting to fade, and sometimes I trace it with my finger, not to make it disappear, but to remember that fate, or luck, or our own dumb choices leave marks we can live with. Do I hate him? Some days. Do I hate her? Less than I did. Mostly, I'm so over hate. It's heavy. It eats at your time. I think more about the things I want to make instead of the things that got broken. I don't know if that's forgiveness. I know it's air. I know when I see a girl with arm paint at the grocery store now, I'm not flinching. I know when my phone buzzes, I won't drop the plate by wondering who it is. Here's where the movie music doesn't play, but the place where I'm okay. Not an uppercase okay. Not an epic transformation with the new man. Just okay in the place you're when the kettle blows its whistle and you pour the tea out and sit down at your table with the truth in the quiet. I'd love to get your thoughts in the comments on this video for all of you who've been through something similar. If this video impacted you even at all, thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell.